Hi everyone, my name's Vince Gelman. I'm happy to be creating another video and sharing it with you. And I am really excited to talk about Master Alien Octopus, these very advanced, ancient alien beings. And they're so dear to my heart. Octopus are core to my heart and my soul. And it's time for me to speak publicly about these incredible beings. And one reason I'm speaking about this with you, and I'm excited to share my mystical experiences with the Great Spirit of the Octopus, is because I have a ceremony, an online ceremony coming up on Sunday, June 12th at 11 a.m. Pacific, and I'm going to be transmitting the Oversoul of Octopus, the Great Spirit of the Octopus. I'm going to be transmitting that to people all over the world, and you can receive that transmission, that healing and activation transmission, whether you are on Zoom or not. And there's no less power in how you receive this healing and activation transmission, which really means healing and empowerment. There's no less power whether you're on Zoom or not. So I'm going to put the link for that in the description. But I want to speak about the octopus on two levels. First, I'm going to get into the biology and the behavior of this incredible creature, this incredible spirit being. And then I'm going to get into my mystical encounters with the octopus that happened in multiple psychedelic journeys with ayahuasca and mushrooms. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm only going to go through maybe one or two, but I hope to. I'm going to share one that's really core to my own journey of healing, and I hope that inspires you. So, when I do my online ceremonies, whether I'm transmitting ascended masters like Kuan Yin, or I'm transmitting crystalline frequency like diamond light or emerald, or if I'm transmitting the stars, or if I'm transmitting other spirit animals like the Great Spirit of the Horse. I just did a wild, majestic horse ceremony a couple of days ago. Whether I'm, no matter what I'm transmitting, whatever being, whatever spirit presence I'm transmitting to my clients all over the world, I always invoke two spirit animals. One is the snake and one is the octopus every single time. And I'm not going to get into the snake this time, but I am going to get into the octopus. And it may not become clear to you why I call upon the octopus, but because there's just so much to talk about. But nonetheless, octopus are truly alien. They're truly alien. And I was just watching a video on YouTube of a scuba diver, a very seasoned scuba diver, who's had many encounters with octopus. I might say octopus or octopi. I don't know. We'll see. Something about saying octopi doesn't feel good. The other saying octopuses, which is actually technically correct. So I might say octopus, I might say octopi. But anyways, I was watching this video of this seasoned scuba diver who has had a number of encounters with octopi. And he said, yeah, they're truly alien. They look alien. And they are alien. And they're even depicted in certain films, certain shows. They're depicted as alien. If we look at the movie, I think it's called Arrival. I don't think it's called Arrived. I think it's called Arrival. Absolutely outstanding movie. I really recommend it. And there's this huge alien these alien ships that come to Earth, and they're massive pods. They're tall, thin pods. And inside are octopus. And so even we know on some level, there's some unconscious knowing that associates the spirit, the consciousness of the octopus with alien intelligence. They haven't hit alien intelligence just simply by the fact, demonstrated by the fact that they're so brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant, and it baffles scientists. See, scientists try to make sense of an animal's intelligence through how they interact with other creatures, and through and through their survival adaptations. So they will say, oh, an animal is intelligent because they've had to adapt through many centuries, many thousands of years. They've had to adapt to different predators. They've had to adapt to different climate changes, different environmental changes. And that adaptation, as it does, creates new neural pathways. And that creates new levels, new kinds of intelligence. But they also say that intelligence develops from being in relationship with other animals. But where scientists are stumped with octopi is that octopus are actually very solitary creatures. So that perplexes scientists because that really takes away a big part of where scientists think creatures develop intellect from or intelligence from. What scientists do not understand in their very reductive, materialistic view is that intelligence is much bigger than biology, brain and biology, brain, nervous system and biology. Intelligence is soul. Intelligence is spirit. Intelligence is consciousness. There's absolutely no way an octopus can have that level of sheer brilliance and have it simply come from their biology and their brain and just a whole bunch of adaptive survival responses that created new neural pathways in their neurobiology. There's absolutely no way that that can happen. It's much bigger because they are, and I'm going to get into this, and you're going to know some of what I'm about to tell you, but it's truly alien intelligence. There are 3 A's I describe octopus with. It's advanced, alien, and ancient. So I'm going to get into that now, the biology, the behavior, and the science side of it, and then I'm going to get into the mystical side. So what you might know is that, well, let's start with a really interesting one. What baffles scientists is that octopus can actually edit their own RNA. They can edit their own RNA. Now, I'm not going to go into exactly what that means, but I encourage you to look that up, that octopus can actually edit their own RNA. That is phenomenal. That in itself is just sheer brilliance. But let's look a little bit more at some simple things to understand, some things that you may know, you likely do know. So they have 8 brains, one associated with each arm, and then they have a central brain. So they have 9 brains. They have 3 hearts, and they have blue blood. Pretty cool, eh? They can change into a huge variety, huge spectrum of colors, iridescent colors, even metallic colors. And they can even change the skin into 3D texture formats to match the terrain, to disguise themselves. They're masters of disguise, both in terms of the 3D texture changes in their skin, but also in the color adaptations. Their ability to change color in their skin is the fastest in the entire animal kingdom, and I believe it's around 200 milliseconds that they can change color. I've even seen them have one color one side and another color another side, so it's split right down the center. It's absolutely phenomenal what they can do. And it's again, is this really about biology and the brain? No, this is an instinct. This is a spiritual science that is interwoven into the spirit of the octopus that is much bigger than biology and brain. The question is, what is the brain responding to? What is the nervous system responding to? That's the question. The brain is responding to something. It's responding to the intelligence of the oversoul of the octopus. And that's what I work with closely in my online ceremonies with all animals. So that's, and they're master escape artists. I saw this video of an octopus on a ship, and it escaped through a hole that was this big. The whole massive thing just went right through because it's an invertebrate. And really the only bone, although technically it's not a bone from my understanding, but the only bone that they have is their beak. And so as long as the beak fits through the hole, they can go through that hole. And so you hear of stories of octopi escaping tanks, going through pipes, as tanks and aquariums, going through pipes, going through impossibly small holes, and getting out. They're master escape artists. They're just brilliant. They're just brilliant. And I really encourage you to watch I think it's still on Netflix, the movie My Octopus Teacher. And it's about this guy who befriends this octopus. I think it's in South Africa, in the waters off South Africa, obviously in the waters. And he scuba dives every day, and he just gets to have, he creates this incredible relationship with this octopus. And the octopus, and you can see the sentience, you can see the brilliance, you can see the love, the connection, the capacity to bond from this beautiful animal. At one point, it places itself right on the heart of the person and spreads itself right on the heart. I mean, how beautiful is that? And we still live in a world where we actually don't believe that, so many people don't believe that animals are sentient. Every animal is sentient. Every animal is sentient. This is part of our wake up from this very human-centric, very material, mental consciousness that we've been in, that animals are our friends, they're our equals, and they're brilliant. They all have their own intelligence. So the other thing that you see in this movie, My Octopus Teacher, is their playfulness. So we don't often think of playfulness as a sign of intelligence. And it is. Some of you know I taught play for years. I led what I call play shops. They were called Remembering to Play. I traveled all over the place, and I taught Remembering to Play shops for adults. A lot of them were early childhood educators. And the thing is that one of the purposes of these play shops, was to create a higher respect or value in play. And so if we respect and value play more, we respect and value the playful spirit of children more, and the importance of play in child development and learning, and that play is a vehicle for children to expressing their playful selves, is a vehicle for them to harness, to know, to express, to cultivate their intelligence, to know the intelligence of their spirit. So playfulness is a definite sign of intelligence. I mean, look at the many expressions of play. We have imagination and creativity and wonder and dreaming. I mean, it is infinite, the spectrum of intelligence that is woven in the consciousness, the divine quality of play. So in My Octopus Teacher, that movie, you see this octopus with its arms going like this, playing, interacting with this school of fish. So it's really powerful to watch this octopus literally almost like juggling these fish. And the other thing about this is, I want to share one more thing from the movie. There's a point where you see the octopus gathering all these shells and suction cupping them and forming like a fortress around, and the octopus was protecting himself or herself from a predator. And that's a master of disguise. It's a master of camouflage. It's a master escape artist. So I can go on, and you know a lot of this stuff already. But I highly recommend that incredible, heartwarming movie. Oh, I should also say too, they are really powerful examples of sacrifice, because after the mother gives birth, she dies. After the mother gives birth, she dies. That's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. It's a teaching that death feeds life. Death feeds life. Just like, the death of leaves come and they break apart and they nutrify the soil. Death feeds life. And it's so dramatic with the death of the mother octopus, and that to give birth, she must die. And the father, he dies as well not long after the birth as well. So octopus actually don't live very long. I think it's about 2 to 3 years. So what a powerful teaching around how death feeds life, the sacrifice for service, the sacrifice for the sacred. but the sacred rebirthing of life. So having said all that, that's a lot of information. I want to now go into the mystical component of octopi. So I have done a lot of work with the sacred spirit plant medicine, ayahuasca, and the spirit medicine of mushrooms as well. I've had many, many, many incredible journeys, and near the beginning stages, I started to have these encounters with octopus. And I remember it was one of the first ones. It just suddenly appeared in front of me, like with its legs fully spread out, and I was seeing it from the bottom. And what a dramatic, very dramatic view that is. The audacity of the octopus. Like, it's just sheer, here I am. It's like a peacock. It reminds me of a peacock who spreads fully wide open and says, here I am, see my brilliance. And seeing me fully spread out, legs 8 directions. Like, it from the bottom, it's a very powerful image, especially if you're on a psychedelic. And it kept showing up, but I didn't understand why the octopus kept showing up. And I was in a relationship at that time, and the very first time that the octopus showed up to me in the spirit plant in the ayahuasca journey, I came home after the ceremonies, and I sat down with my girlfriend, and I said, I gotta tell you, I had this incredible experience. I want to share with you. And well, she said, well, before you tell me about it, I have a gift for you. And so she handed me this gift, and I opened it up, and it was a toque, a beanie, like a wool hat. We call it a toque in Canada, with an octopus on it. It was just covered in an octopus. And she had no idea about the octopus. I hadn't told her yet. And that's when I knew something was going on with the octopus, obviously. And her mom, about 6 months later, without knowing anything, gave me a ceramic bowl with a big octopus carved into it. So I started having these incredible synchronicities, mystical experiences with octopi. So it kept showing up, it kept coming. It was a spirit guide, it was a teacher. But there was one experience I want you to know about. And that is that, and I need to give you a little bit of context here. So given the trauma that I experienced as a child, given what I endured, one of the beliefs that I took on in blaming myself for what happened, for the abuse that I experienced, one of the beliefs that I took on that I didn't realize I had until I started doing these psychedelic journeys was the belief that I am the worst. I am the worst. Now, that's a pretty intense belief. I've done a lot of work with clients. I've never come across that belief. I've come across I am bad, I am wrong, it's my fault. But I am the worst was so very core, and it was something I struggled with in my ceremonies, in my healing ceremonies. I had to really work through over many years. So after I'd done enough work on this belief, in one ceremony, I suddenly felt compelled and guided to go very deep into it, to go very, very, very deep. Now, if you imagine, like, if you've ever seen those videos of those divers that dive off of really high cliffs, I think it's in Greece or it's in the Mediterranean, I don't know, but they dive from a very high place and they just go straight down like an arrow, and they go down deep, 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 deep. And it was like that. I was just going down, pointed fully down, going deep, 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 and I was going deeper and deeper into the dark, into the core wound. And it was terrifying. I went deeper and deeper and darker and darker, and I cannot tell you how scary that is when you're in a psychedelic journey. And one of the things that's scary about that is I was afraid some memory was going to come that was unexpected, that would be shocking. So it's a deep dive into the unknown. It's a deep dive into vulnerability. I mean, if anyone has ever done psychedelics, you know how intense these experiences are when you have a shaman chanting these really powerful, penetrating Icaros, and you're in the dark and you're exhausted. you're vulnerable. It's a lot. So I'm going down, 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 down. And I finally reached the bottom. I finally reached the bottom. And suddenly, when I surrendered to the bottom, what happened is a transformation took place. I am the worst transformed into I am of worth. I am the worst transformed into I am of worth. Now, I want to give you another metaphor. I'm a certified coach. I don't do coaching anymore, any life coaching. But when I did my training 20 years ago, the teachers had a metaphor of guiding clients down a river. The river represented their journey, their life path. And sometimes we get stuck in an eddy. And the only way to get out of the eddy is to actually to go down. We can't swim our way out. We have to go down the eddy, and then we pop out further down the river and we can keep going. So sometimes the only way to get over fear is to go into the heart of the fear, to the core of the fear. And that takes a lot of courage, and we may have to go many times through, as it has been the case for me. So I went down into that eddy. I went down into the core, into the bottom, and then I am the worst transformed. It transformed into I am of worth. And then the most incredible experience happened. I started going back up. And as I went up, the darkness started turning into different gradations of more and more light. It was kind of like dark, and then sort of less dark, and then kind of a dark red, and then like a dark orange, and then the yellow, and then brighter and brighter yellow. And as I got up into the higher, more the vibrant yellows and the whiter lights, I looked around me and I saw countless octopi. And they're all floating. If you imagine their legs, they're all floating up into the light, all around me, all these octopi. It was incredible. Can you imagine what that feels like? It was so powerful. Now you have to remember, at this point I'd had many encounters with octopus. I had many mystical experiences. So I was getting used to having encounters with octopi, but this was just so stunning. It's like I'd found the heartland of the octopus in the spirit world. I'd found the heartland. I'd found their home. It was so beautiful. And suddenly what happened is I found myself being whisked away by someone. Someone or something started taking me somewhere. Now, I want to give you a little bit of context around this. In my experience in navigating the spirit world, it is often the case that when I'm being taken to an exalted being, someone takes me there. Someone or something takes me there. It's sort of like if you arrive at a castle and you want to visit the king or the queen, someone's going to take you to the king or the queen. You're not just going to walk right into the castle and go right up to the king or queen. Someone's going to greet you at the door and usher you and guide you to the king or the queen. It's like that sometimes. It's been the case for me that way, where there's been some intermediary that guides me, that takes me. And so I was being whisked away, and suddenly before me there was a lair, like kind of a resting ground, like a cave. And there was curtains, and they opened, and inside were two. It seemed like two. They were huge, ancient, the ancient octopus. The ancient octopus. And they were kind of like a beige gray sort of look. And I look at this and I felt very kind of overwhelmed looking at these very old beings. And they said a few things to me, but there's only one thing I remember, and that is they thanked me. They said, "Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for the work you're doing." And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, although I understand more now. So it was a powerful experience. It was a powerful experience with this octopus. Now, since that time, So yeah, I just need to pause. That was a lot I just gave you, and you can see how incredibly transformative that experience would be. So since that time, I've learned more about the mystical role of octopi on this planet. Now they are masters. That's what makes them so brilliant. They're masters. I have no issue with calling them a master spirit. They're master aliens. Now, one of the things they do on the planet is they anchor and broadcast the ancient frequencies, the ancient wisdom teachings of the cosmos. They're ancient. They anchor and broadcast them across the planet. They anchor and broadcast them. And they also, they're like synthesizers. If you think of the 8 arms as like going out and pulling in, what they do is they help to synthesize the fragmented aspects, the fragmented, distorted aspects of consciousness and integrate them into one. So that's part of their deeper meaning as symbolized in their structure. Like an 8-pointed star. It's like an 8-pointed star that goes out, reaches out, and brings it back into the heart and transmutes. Reaches out, pulls it back into the heart and transmutes. So they synthesize the many into one. And that's actually what great masters do. They broadcast the frequency of oneness. They're harmonizers. They broadcast the frequency of non-duality in a very polarized world. So this is a big reason why they're masters. They broadcast unity consciousness. They synthesize the fragmented aspects of consciousness into one. The other thing about them is that they are like, there's lots of loud planes today. They're like, I call them spiritual garbage collectors. They take on toxicity. This is kind of similar to what I just said, but they take on toxic consciousness and they transmute it within their ethereal body. Now, masters have done this historically on the planet. They will take on their disciples' karma and transmute it or metabolize it in their system. So masters have done this. They take on the karma, and it can make them unwell, but they do it anyway. They take it on and they alchemize it in their system. So masters have done this with their disciples. But as a master alien, the octopus also does that. It takes on toxic consciousness and transmutes it, alchemizes it in its ethereal body. The other thing is, we can look at the fact that they're solitude creatures. And this is another reason why I see them as masters, because masters are typically, or avatars are outsiders. They're solitudes. They're solitude beings. They don't blend in with the crowd. So octopus too are solitude. And the thing is they're also just wildly audacious. Like, can you think of an animal that is more audacious than the octopus? Like, it's such a great word to define them. This came to me in ayahuasca, is that they are pure audacity, the audacity of what they do. And if we look at the wild avatars of history, Jesus, Gandhi, they're wild. They're wild men. They're not controllable, which those in power don't like, which is why they kill them. But they're not controllable. So there's an audaciousness in Jesus. There was an audaciousness in Jesus. There was an audaciousness in Gandhi to do what he did. And there's an audaciousness in the great spirit of the octopus as well. So when you receive a transmission, and that's what I'm doing. I'm transmitting in the ceremony at 11 a.m. on Sunday, June 12th, 11 a.m. Pacific at 77 Canadian. It's like 60-something American. It's a healing and an activation, which means empowerment. You are receiving a transmission from a master healer, truly a master healer. You are communing with the oversoul of the great spirit of the octopus. And what this is doing is it's slowly helping you to awaken the living master you are, your ancient soul. You're harmonizing with the oversoul of the great spirit of the octopus. And in that harmonization, there's a resonant mirroring that takes place, which activates the codes in your DNA that hold similar qualities that the octopus has. They go from latent to alive, to activated. They birth into your human awareness these divine qualities, the wisdom teachings that are held in the oversoul of the octopus. Basically your inner octopus awakens, the inner master in you comes alive. So you're working with a powerful master healer, a powerful master healer. And so the link is in the description, and I invite you to come. Again, you don't need to be on Zoom. You don't need to be on Zoom to receive the healing and activation. You do need to register, obviously. But yeah, you're welcome to come if you'd like. So I wanted to share that with you, just to give you my heartfelt sense and experience of this magnificent being that is truly alien. Truly, truly alien, that looks physically alien, and that we know on some level that it is alien. Its intelligence is alien, its behaviors are alien. It's just a different being, and it's what makes it a true master, makes it a true master. So thank you, everyone. I also have some other upcoming ceremonies I'll put links for in the description. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please share. Please leave your comments. Please subscribe. Click notifications. And I'll see you when I see you.